Sagely investors, welcome back to another episode on the Sagely channel. My name is Kras, and in the last 6 months, guys, I made over 50% return on the company Seoul Pattinson. So if you guys might recall, 6 months ago, I sold all of my shares in Wesfarmers and I ended up buying Seoul Pattinson. So if you guys want to learn more about this company and where I think it's going and what it's done over the last year, please stay tuned. So guys, 6 months ago, Wesfarmers was trading at $43.50 and Seoul Pattinson was trading at $19.50. Today, Wesfarmers has appreciated by 18% to $51.10 and Seoul Pattinson is sitting and hovering around $30 a share, which is an increase of 54% in a span of only 6 months. Now, for full disclosure, I have not sold my shares in Seoul Pattinson and I'm still holding them. Now, let's just talk about what exactly has happened and what's actually driven up that stock price. So the way that I'm going to talk about Seoul Pattinson is by their largest holdings. And for those of you who are not familiar with Seoul Pattinson, it is essentially Australia's Berkshire Hathaway. It's a company that invests in other companies, and they try and buy companies at very attractive prices so that they can realize the most value out of those investments over the long term, and they always hold for the long term. So having said that, their largest holding is Tpg Telecom, and in June 2020, TPG merged with Vodafone to become Australia's third largest telecom company by number of customers. Currently, they have about 5.8 million customers, just shy of Optus and way behind Telstra, the incumbent. Now, basically, this result of the merger between TPG and Vodafone resulted in an immediate synergy of about $1 billion to Washington H. Soul Pattinson. And in fact, in 2020, they had reported an net profit after tax of $943 million, which was up from the prior period by 284%. Now, of course, this is not a result that can be expected to be continued over the next couple of years. It was just a one-off due to the TPG merger. Their second largest holding is in the company Brickworks, and Seoul Pattinson currently own about 44% of Brickworks, and in turn, very interestingly, Brickworks own about 39% of Seoul Pattinson. I do believe that this is the only cross-company listing that is still around on the ASX, and it is perfectly legal. So going through Brickworks' latest results at their 2020 AGM, I discovered a very interesting thing, which was their partnership with Goodman Group at the Oakdale West estate in Western Sydney, where Brickworks and Goodman Group have just signed a 20-year lease pre-commitment with US retailer Amazon. Now, this facility is going to be a massive distribution center, and it's going to basically increase Brickworks' net rental income by about 25%. Now, keep in mind that although Brickworks does make bricks only represent about 25% of Brickworks' income. Another 25% comes from their property developments, and of course 50% comes from Washington H. Soul Pattinson. So I'm very, very bullish about what Brickworks is doing with their property developments with Goodman Group, and especially the future potential of all the remaining land at the Oakdale West estate in Sydney. In number 3, we of course have the controversial New Hope Corporation, which is a coal miner and a coal exporter. Now, recent political issues between the USA and China have also heightened political tensions between Australia and China has retaliated, if you will, by limiting certain imports of commodities and products into China from Australia, and coal has been one of these products. So needless to say, this has had a negative impact on a company like New Hope Corporation, which currently Seoul owns about 44% of. And back in March of 2019, New Hope Corporation's stock price was at $4.40. And fast forward to today, it's at only $1.40. But keep in mind that Seoul's entry price into New Hope was incredibly low at about, I believe, 10 cents per share. So while Seoul Pattinson has recently been offloading more and more shares of New Hope as the New Hope price goes up, I believe they will continue to do that, and I believe that eventually Seoul Pattinson will exit fully their position in coal sometime over the next 5 years. The other interesting thing about New Hope Corporation is that their CEO, Reinhold Schmidt, said to the AFR recently that New Hope is still actually cash flow positive. So despite the price of the company crashing so much, it is still making money. And the fact that coal prices and coal exports have been largely suppressed, the fact remains that this industry will definitely have a rebound at some point over the next couple of years, and that will have a very positive impact on Seoul Pattinson shares as well. Now, in at number 4, we have the financial portfolio of Washington H. Soul Pattinson, and essentially this portfolio can be summarized by 2 companies. Number 1 is BKI Investments, and the second is Milton Corporation. Now, both of these are what's called listed investment companies, and there really isn't too much more to say about them except that they're basically a passive type investment that Washington gets dividends from. In at number 5 is Seoul's Pharmaceuticals portfolio, and I don't know too much of the details behind this, but they are majority shareholders in the 2 companies, API, which is well known around the country by their Priceline pharmacy stores, and the second company is called Pharma, which produces narcotics for the international pharmaceutical companies as a raw material. Now, if you look at Pharma's stock price, it has had a very, very negative return, and it looks like it's not really doing much. But recently they have had approval to sell a new drug over in the UK, and management believe that in 2021 that will result in profits to the company. The other good news about API is that in 2020 they massively reduced their debts to almost nothing, and their revenue was flat on the prior year, which is very surprising considering the fact that a lot of pharmacies actually had to close or reduce their operational hours due to COVID-19 over the year. Finally, number 6, guys, we have the non-listed, or what's called as private equity portfolio of Seoul Pats, and in this one they own a lot of different companies. They own some property as well. But interestingly for myself in particular, the 2 companies that I enjoy in there is number 1, Amp Control, and Amp Control provides services to the electrical industry. So they provide essential services, and it's a company that will always be in high demand. The second company that I find interesting is called 7 Miles Coffee, and this company is mainly based in Sydney, but it's also found in other states around Australia. But in Sydney, they provide roasting and roasting training to a variety of different people that are interested in learning how to roast coffee. So I will definitely pay a visit. Now, in other news, recently Seoul Pattinson also bought quite a hefty stake in the aged care company called Regis Healthcare. They in fact currently own 27.23% of Regis. And in addition to that, they recently bought a tiny 6.5% stake in the even tinier Retail Food Group, or RFG, which is the company, unfortunately, best known for their malpractice towards their store owners. So RFG, obviously, if you look at their stock price, they have been absolutely smashed over the last couple of years, and that has to do with lawsuits from their store owners, such as from Donut King and Gloria Jean's Coffees. Now, interestingly, Washington made a bid for Regis Healthcare, which Regis has rejected, but now it looks like that is no longer really in the cards, because a 27% ownership of Regis basically means that Washington, Seoul Pattinson, can install directors on the board of Regis, and they can start to control the company and push it in the direction they want, which is going to be for either more profitability or perhaps a sale to a third-party company. But personally, I think that the aged care sector is a sector that's going to really grow over the coming years, and it's going to be a sector that's going to be very important to not only Australia's future, but to the world future. How we take care of our elderly is a really tough question, and I think that forward-thinking companies must find solutions, and that demand for that product will always be around. So personally, I would prefer it if Washington would hold Regis for the long term. Now guys, let's talk about a little bit about the debt of Seoul Pattinson and what's going on there. Basically, it has more than doubled since 2019. In 2019, they only had $32 million worth of short-term liabilities and $317 million of long-term liabilities. Fast forward to today, and they've got about $260 million in short-term and $575 million in long-term. So the question is this actually going to be an issue for Seoul? My reasoning goes something like this. I think that because of really low interest rates and because of sound financial investment decisions, the return that they're going to get on that interest and on that debt is going to far outweigh the interest cost of that debt. At least that's the hope. So what's the bottom line, guys? Should you invest in Seoul today? Obviously, none of this is financial advice, and obviously if you've watched the video until the end, you're probably interested to hear what my final word is on whether you should buy, hold, or sell. Well, currently guys, I am holding, and I'm actually watching a lot of Seoul's different subsidiaries, such as especially Brickworks and API. Now, interestingly guys, if you want exposure to Seoul, an alternative strategy might be to invest in Brickworks, and that way you're exposed 50% to Seoul, but also 50% to real estate type properties that are going to be in very, very high demand over the next 20 to 50 years. I'm talking about distribution centers, which are going to be used by companies like Amazon, Coles, Woolworths, and other companies to distribute their products and sell online. So Brickworks might be a safer bet for you if you feel that you don't like to invest in Seoul Pattinson due to their investments in coal and certain other investments which you may or may not agree with. So guys, it's really, really hard to say what to do in this particular case, but with so much potential from all their different investments, I am definitely going to be holding, and if Seoul falls beneath $25 in the short term, I will be looking to pick up a few more shares. If Seoul goes beyond $35 or beyond even $40, I'm seriously going to be considering selling in the short term, just because I won't really understand why it would have gone up so much. So I hope you guys have picked up something from this video. I hope it's giving you some new ideas. If you enjoyed the video, leave a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy it, feel free to leave a thumbs down, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.